Hi, this is Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson.
What's up, everybody? I'm Matt Leinart, 2004 Heisman Trophy winner.
Hey, I'm Zane Gonzalez.
Hi, I'm Matt Barry from ESPN. You're getting ready to watch one of the best college football podcasts ever. It's the Harris Highlight Show.
You're watching the Harris Highlight Show.
And you're watching the Harris Highlight Show.
And you listen to the Harris Highlight Show. Enjoy it.
Na 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 na.
Coming to you live from the Chateau in beautiful Monrovia, California. This is the eating edition of the Harris Highlight Show. Joining me this week is our college football analyst, Josh Schaefer, our college football expert, Lyle Goldstein, our executive producer and pizza connoisseur, Brady Klein, and I'm your host for the evening, Blake Harris. Brady, what pizza you eating? That's the most important question at hand.
So, no free ads. Hang on. Pepperoni pizza.
Okay.
From Donato's. I don't know if do you guys have Donato's?
Donato's,
no, but I know who Ryan Donato is.
That sounds like that SpongeBob Underworld version where everything's like backwards or something of Spinatos. It's like, man, they don't have a Spinatos here, but they got a Donato's.
So Donato's it's I think it might be a Midwest thing. I don't really know, but it's super thin, super crispy, and they have the best pepperoni on their pizza. It gets nice and crispy, and it's really good.
Nice. That's big time.
There you go. Boys, we got the draft in 2 days. How are we feeling this week? Are we nervous? Are we excited? Do we got our pre-draft attire all planned out yet?
Oh, I am so excited to not watch the Rams pick in the first round for the first time since last year. I'm just so excited about it, guys.
I was going to say, Josh and I don't have anything to be worried about. We're just going to get to sit back and watch everything unfold and possibly burn to the ground. I will say this. We did our first 8 picks of our mock draft now 3 weeks ago. I got to tell you, after everything I've been hearing the last few days, I wish I could go back and change about everything outside the first 2, maybe 3 picks. Because, I mean, what we mocked 3 weeks ago may have been okay 3 weeks ago. I'm not sure it is now.
Yeah, that's the tough part about doing these mock drafts, because for the most part, aside from, I guess, like 1 and 2, so much is changing, so much is happening. No one knows exactly what's going to take place. I mean, I don't even think the 49ers at this point know what's going to be happening in pick 3. Guys, before we get to our final 8 picks, so again, if you're joining the show right now, we're going to be doing the final 8 picks of our first round mock draft. Over the last 4 weeks, we've been doing 8 picks a show, and we've also been going over our top 5 player prospects at each position. Tonight, we're going to be doing our top 5 linebackers and our top 5 defensive backs. So again, tonight's going to be our last 8 picks, which are going to be picks 25 through 32. So if you want to see picks 1 through 24, go watch our previous 3 episodes. Guys, we've been promoting this for the last few weeks, but it's officially only 2 days away. So it's coming up just like that. We're going to be live this Thursday for the NFL draft. Normally, we're never live during the NFL draft. We're just watching on our own, but we thought it'd be a fun idea to go live during the NFL draft. That way the 4 of us will be watching the draft, giving our immediate reactions live during the show. I believe the plan is to be going live at 7 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. I know the draft, I think, is officially 8 p.m. Eastern, I think. I don't think it's 8:30 Eastern. So we have an hour beforehand. We're going to be having some guests on, some people that cover the college athletics, NFL, whatnot, trying to work on some players. We're going to be doing an NFL draft trivia that I'm currently working on right now. So it's been a while since we've done trivia. So guys, study up on your NFL draft history, because I have a lot of trivia coming your way. There might be a grand prize for the winner. So stay tuned for that. We're going to be having guests coming on during the show, pretty much talking about their favorite team after the pick, before the pick. And if you have any interest in potentially hopping on the show at one point to spend a minute or two talking about your favorite team's pick, hit us up on Twitter at the HH _ or hit me up on Twitter specifically. Again, we want to have as many people as possible talking about their favorite teams. We already have some other people we know coming on the show. We have a fan of the Washington football team who is a close friend of the show, who is on record saying if the Washington football team trades up and gets Justin Fields, he will be jumping out of a plane. Now, I don't know if he means he's going to go skydiving or he's just going to go and jump out of a plane.
I was confused about his tweet. Was it he would jump out of a plane out of excitement or out of despair?
That's exactly what I want to know. So we're going to have him on.
It's excitement, I'm pretty sure.
So hopefully the Washington football team trades up so we can get his reaction to see if maybe he'll jump out of a plane on air. That'll make for a great live stream. So again, hit us up on Twitter. Again, we're not going to be going the entire first round because we don't want this to be a 6-hour live stream unless for whatever reason we have millions of viewers. And then of course we'll go into the wee hours of Friday morning. But if you have any interest in hopping on for again a minute or two to talk about your team's draft pick, pretty much explaining why you think it's a good move, a bad move, anything like that, hit the show up on Twitter at the @HHShow_. Hit me up on Twitter. Again, we have a bunch of people coming on for different teams, and we'll do the best we can to get as many people on. It's going to be a fun time live during the NFL draft. So if you want to tune in and again, just hear our thoughts, hear our reactions, watch us consume alcohol, watch Lyle get blacked off of 2 shots. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, don't worry, Lyle's not the weakling of this group. We all know who that is, who's going to be blacked after 2 shots.
I don't know if we do. I don't know.
We
if
know.
We do.
We know.
I don't know if we do.
We know. We know.
I would have guessed Lyle personally.
We're gonna get to it's gonna be like the pick number 25. We're gonna be like, Brady, you've taken 30 shots of Tito's. How are you feeling? It's gonna be like, I'm feeling fine. You just got to practice. That's all it is. Practice yourself. All right, guys. So again, that's going to be live this upcoming Thursday. Make sure to follow the show on Twitter at the HHShow_ and stay tuned for more information. Guys, before we get to our final 8 picks, again, just kind of going over the latest NFL draft news because there is a few things that I just briefly want to go over before we get to it. Because again, come Thursday night, the first 6 picks might be official. Like we might already have an idea of who's going where as of right now. Again, Lawrence going 1, Wilson going 2. Those are the obvious picks. Things get really interesting at 3. The 49ers came out this past week and said essentially it's down to Mac Jones and Trey Lance, pretty much throwing Justin Fields out, which I don't know if that's just a smokescreen or if they truly don't want to take Justin Fields there. I sent this to our chat earlier today, but Trey Lance was on a podcast with SB Nation, and they pretty much ended the show saying, all right, we hope to be talking to you again on Thursday nights, assuming, he goes to the 49ers, and he says, yeah, I'm hoping that as well. Again, you can read into that what you will, but Trey Lance, I guess you can make out of it that he might think he's going to the Niners. Meanwhile, there's reports going around that executives are saying everything I'm hearing is going to be Mac Jones. I think it's going to be Mac Jones. Everything makes sense with Mac Jones. So guys, on this bit of news, if you had $1,000 that you could bet on it being Mac Jones or Trey Lance going to the 49ers at 3, who would you be placing that money on at this point?
I really have no idea. When we did our first 8 picks, I had Zach Wilson going 3rd to the 49ers. And then a week later, it seemed like it was all but solidified that Zach Wilson was going to go to the Jets at 2. So I had Fields at 3. And now it seems like it's not even going to be Fields. So kind of like what Lyle said, if we could go back and change our first 8 picks and if we really wanted to, I feel like we probably could and we should, but I don't really know. I think it'll probably be Trey Lance at this point, which I would be not surprised to see, but of course I'm not an NFL GM or football operations director, anything like that. I would not value him above some of the other guys in there. So that's just me personally. I'll even talk about Trey Lance today when we do our picks, whatever.
I think Trey Lance is still on Josh's board going into pick 25.
So that's something we're going to talk about today.
Oh,
we'll see. I would guess it's probably going to be Lance at this point.
Hey man, according to some people's mock drafts, Justin Fields is still available at 32. So you having Trey Lance there isn't the weirdest thing.
Yeah, I guess Trey Lance for Josh this year is going to be like my Justin Herbert last year. So yeah, it's whatever. If it were me, I would take Lance. I think it's going to be Mac Jones when we hear the San Francisco card opened and Goodell says the name on Thursday night. Just because, again, we've talked about it on the show every week. Given Shanahan's history with his quarterbacks and the prototype that he likes, I would guess it'll be Jones.
I see no reason why it's not Jones. And you guys all said you'd go back and change it. I wouldn't change a thing. I still wholeheartedly believe it's going to be Mac Jones. I think this is all just a big smoke screen. They're going to do it so they can field offers for phone calls. That's what you see this week, every year in, year out. The Colts, few years back, were like, well, maybe we take RG3. not a doubt in their mind they were taking Andrew Luck. Yeah, that's the number 1 overall pick, but the Niners have third. I think no doubt about it, it's going to be Mac Jones.
Yeah, I wouldn't change mine either. I mean, the 49ers, sorry, Lal, but the 49ers, I'm pretty sure I don't know if they came out and said this, but when they made the trade up to 3 a week or two ago, it's because they wanted to take Mac Jones. I don't think, again, they're doing their research, which there might be things that came out on Trey Lance that they liked, but they traded up. You don't just trade a couple of first-round picks and a bunch of picks to go up to number 3 and then go, all right, now we'll figure it out. Like, you trade up going, we have a guy in mind, we have a guy we like. Again, I think there's more upside with Trey Lance, but I think overall, as we've said in shows past, fitting the system more, Mac Jones makes more sense. And the thing about Mac Jones, I know he kind of gets a lot of crap from people. Mac Jones was good last year. I mean, he set the record for the highest completion percentage in FBS history. Granted, he had some really good weapons at Alabama, but Mac Jones looked a lot better than Tua, in my opinion. And Tua seemed like a surefire consensus easy top 5 picks. So again, I get the hesitancy with Mac Jones, but if I were to bet money, which I unfortunately won't be, it will be going on Mac Jones.
Oh, I was just going to say, I wouldn't change my pick at 3 because I mock Jones there. I still think Jones goes there. I was talking earlier at the start of the show about changing a couple picks. Where I would change is probably 5 and 6. I don't know if we want to briefly touch on pick 5 or if we just want to save it for draft night, but either way, because I heard some swirlings about that 5th pick.
Right. Well, we can bring that up after this one because, again, these are just like the latest NFL draft rumors, just some things that I just want to kind of touch on again before because, again, come draft night, things can be completely different. We might have an idea of who's going to where. One other thing I wanted to bring up was I don't know if this was yesterday, but Kyle Pitts essentially came out and was asked, like, hey, what are your predictions on the draft? And he said, I forget if it was 4 or 5, but he said, I think the first 4 or 5 picks are going to be quarterbacks. Also, Lyle had a laggy connection, so we're going to let him restart and see how that goes. But Kyle Pitts came out and he said, yeah, I'm pretty much expecting the first 5 picks to be quarterbacks. Pretty much kind of him assuming that he's not going to the Falcons at 4 or potentially a team trading up at trading up to get a quarterback at 4. So, guys, again, Kyle Pitts, he might not know a whole lot, but he definitely knows more than we do. What percentage chance would you give it that the first – I guess give me a percentage on the first 4 picks being a quarterback and then a percentage on the first 5 picks being quarterback? Because, again, Kyle Pitts doesn't think he's going until at least pick 6 now.
I would say that the percentage of the first 4 picks being quarterbacks, I would say is 75% maybe. And that just depends on the Falcons trading out of that spot. I really don't think the Falcons go quarterback there. I think they're more likely to trade out. And again, like this is something that I said, that I've said a couple times, and Brady said the same thing, is he and I don't really do trades in these mock drafts, which is kind of easy to do the mock draft, but then it easily can screw everything up because one trade can change the rest of the draft. But it's easier to do the draft, so I just kind of go chalk based off of like what the draft order is. But I said when I got to number 4 with Atlanta picking, this is where I think we see our first trade, is if Atlanta decides to get rid of this number 4 pick. In which case, if they keep the pick, I said go for the best player available, which in my opinion is Kyle Pitts. And I know that a lot of other people think the same thing. But I do think it's reasonable to expect Atlanta to get out of that pick and then for the first 4 picks to be quarterbacks. At number 5, I see absolutely no reason for the Bengals to not take Penei Sewell at 5. So I will say I'll go 75% that the first 4 picks are quarterbacks. I will say 0% that the first 5 are. I think it would be very, very dumb for the Bengals to not take Penei Sewell at 5.
Yeah, I think the percentage is pretty high. The first Kyle Pitts same thing. I'll lower it at 5. I'm trying to think what I think the percentage is. I'll say it's like a I don't know, under 50% chance.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, again, the Bengals, they could be in a position where they could trade from 5 to 6, 7 or so. If a team wants to hop up and get a quarterback, they could still get Penei Sewell. It's all about, kind of figuring out the draft board, because if they trade with someone and, you got the Dolphins there at 6, and then you have like the Lions there at 7, there might be a chance, again, the Bengals can trade to 8 and Penei Sewell can fall there. Again, Josh, I agree. No reason for them not to go Sewell, but we've seen this with the Dolphins where they would have been taking a wide receiver at 3. they could have been taking Jamar Chase at 3. There's a likely chance they're going to be getting Jamar Chase at 6. So again, the Bengals, there's a chance they can move down. There's a chance they can move back. When Lyle's gone, maybe he's trying to go tell Jay, why isn't our Wi-Fi better considering we are Microsoft inventors? So we'll have to wait and see where Lyle goes. So guys, why don't we just kick
Who's
things
that
off?
on the wall? Do we want them on the podcast?
No, we do
got
not. We
Lyle?
absolutely do not want.
Is that Manny Machado? Yeah, no, we don't need Manny on the show.
All right, so we're going to kick things off, guys. We're going to start with pick number 25. I know Lyle said he had something he wanted to talk about, I think, in regards to pick number 5. We can save that to later in the show when we're doing our Q&A, because we had actually a lot of good questions on. So, Lyle, in case you missed the tail end of that, I know you said you had something you wanted to bring up with like picks 5 and 6. We'll save that until we do like our Q&A later in the show, so we can use that as a discussion. But, guys, pick number 25. I hinted at this last week that I was really, really excited for this one. So I'll build off that, build suspense for about a minute or so. We got the Jaguars picking here, number 25. Who do we got?
So before I even get to 25, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. And I told you guys before the show, and then once we got on, I said that I was going to change something up with Trey Lance. As you guys know, for the first 3 mock draft shows we've done, I've had Trey Lance getting the Bo Callahan treatment. And I'm actually going to switch that up a little bit here. So the bright spot about the way we do our mock drafts is there are no rules. We make our own rules. So deal with it. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to change one of my picks. And given everything that's been going on with Washington Football Club, and I still have them picking at number 19 because of no trades. Originally, I had them taking Zaven Collins, and I've seen a lot of people having Zaven Collins fall a little bit more. I've seen some people picking him in the top 10. There's just no consistency with Collins. So I went back and I changed my pick at number 19 for Washington to take Trey Lance. They could trade up for Lance. For me personally, I think they can get one of these quarterbacks at 19 if some of these teams pick reasonably. Of course, some of them like their guys. Some people like Mac Jones at number 3. Other people have Justin Fields falling to 32, apparently. So I think that Washington can take Trey Lance at 19 if he falls that far. And the way that I have my draft working out, I have him there, which means that I still have Zaven Collins on the board as we get to 25. So anyway, at 25, I have the Jaguars from the Rams, and I have them taking Christian Barmore. They've already snagged Trevor Lawrence in this draft, like they will in the actual draft. They could use some offensive weapons, but they could also improve their front 7 too. So I say go with Christian Barmore. This is another pick that I think could actually get dealt somewhere else. So we'll see how that works out. But I like Barmore at 25 if the Jaguars stay here.
Can you guys hear me any better now?
Oh, we can hear you fine. It's just your video that's been kind of laggy. Your audio's always been fine, though.
Oh, okay. Anyway, okay, so pick 25 here. Jaguars have their second pick of the first round. I kind of like who I have at this pick, too, because obviously they take Trevor Lawrence at 1. They have a lot of holes on this team that they're going to have to fill. And I think one of the other most important positions on the field is an effective pass rush, because an effective pass rush can set the tone for the rest of your defense. And they made a couple moves in the secondary this offseason, which was good for them. The guy I have taking here at 25 is Greg Rousseau, who's still on my board. And I think this is an absolute slam dunk for the Jaguars. I mean, if you had told these guys 6 to 8 weeks ago that their 2 picks would be Trevor Lawrence and Greg Rousseau, a guy who just a few weeks ago could have been considered to be a top 10 to 12 pick, I think they would have jumped on it. Like I know people had some concerns about his weight, and he put on some weight in the offseason, and can he still be explosive off the line? I would take the gamble on this guy and the chance on this guy at 25 in a heartbeat. So for the Jags, I've got Rousseau at 25, and I think this has a chance to be the slam dunk late first round steal of this draft.
Oh, now Brady's audio's out. Can anyone else not hear Brady?
No, we do not hear Brady.
Okay.
I was
didn't
muted
want to
because I
interrupt
was
him.
eating pizza. I was muted because I was eating pizza.
It's a great reason.
Great reason. Great pizza. For me, I also have Jacksonville at 25. I think I didn't do any trades like we talked about earlier. For me, I think Urban Meyer is going to go similar to what we saw Matt Rule do last year in Carolina. Matt Rule in Carolina in his first year as a head coach picked every one of his picks was a defensive player. I think Urban Meyer could do something very, very similar with the offense. And they're getting their once-in-a-generation quarterback. They're getting their whatever you want to call Trevor Lawrence. But they also need someone to catch the ball, and I'm going to go with Elijah Moore at 25 to Jacksonville. I think he's a good player. You know, we've seen him perform over the years in the SEC, obviously the one time, what did he do? He was pretending to be a dog and took a piss on the field. That was fine. Forget about it. Everyone's had mistakes like that.
Right.
So
you've been there before.
Yeah, been there, done that, right?
Can't tell you how many times.
I know, so many times. I think Elijah Moore is going to be one of those guys where a mid to late first round pick and is still considered, in any other draft, a top receiver. So I have Elijah Moore going 25 to Jacksonville.
Yeah, so let me start this off by saying the Jags, they also have pick number 33. They have pick number 45. So if they're going to take this player, they're more likely going to take him with those picks. But since we're only doing a first round draft, I wanted to make sure I got this player in there. So again, I'm just going on record saying I don't think this will be a first round pick, but I think it'd be a genius pick by them if they took him at pick 33, at pick 45. You're getting Trevor Lawrence. We already know that that's a surefire pick. That's a guarantee. You're getting Trevor Lawrence. But how nice would it be, guys, if you were to take Trevor Lawrence, who doesn't really like football that much, supposedly, says he does, but who knows? You want to make him happy. They're already donating a bunch of stuff to charities of his choice, giving him a bunch of wedding gifts. Why not have Trevor Lawrence bring in to Jacksonville one of his best friends in Travis Etienne? You get the quarterback of the future, and you pair him with the running back that was there with him at Clemson. James Robinson was fine last year for Jacksonville, but there's a reason that he was an undrafted free agent. I just don't think he's going to sustain a lot of success in the NFL. I just really don't. He was literally getting like 96, 97% of all snaps at the running back position last year. So I'm not a huge fan of James Robinson moving forward. Again, don't take a running back in the first round. Don't do it. If Etienne's there at 45, I think I like it a lot more. Again, I'm just doing this because I want to get him in the first round. But again, pair Trevor Lawrence with Travis Etienne, who's an amazing pass-catching running back. I think there's a few things he can build on in regards to the NFL. But again, they were fantastic together at Clemson. And for the most part, Brady said it perfectly, build that offense. Build that offense with Trevor Lawrence. They already have a lot of good weapons there. I believe they did add Marvin Jones this offseason as well. So you got Marvin Jones, DJ Chark. You got Laviska Shenault, who's going to be wide receiver, running back, whatnot. And again, add Travis Etienne. It doesn't have to be a full-time back. You can split carries with James Robinson. I just think it'd be a whole lot of fun. Again, college teammates, they were great together. They'd be even better in the NFL together. And again, I think Jacksonville could really use a decent running back because I don't think James Robinson is the answer long-term. So I hope they don't go with them at pick 25. At pick 45, though, I think that'd be an ideal spot for Travis Etienne to go. So I like the duo. You guys might not, but that's why it's my mock, and it's a whole lot of fun. All right, guys, we're now going to go to pick number 26.
So this is a fun one for me, and a guy that I've not necessarily watched but listened to a lot. I listen to a lot of football during the college football season, so I'll put a game on the TV and listen to a game whenever I'm doing stuff. I love to listen to Michigan. Always listen to Michigan on Saturdays. So I've got the Cleveland Browns taking Kwity Paye at number 26. And this is a player that some of you guys, I don't think everybody has him still on their board. I think Brady already has Paye off the board. So Brady talked about him quite a bit last week. So if you want more of an analysis thing, go listen to that. But think about how good this defensive line could be if they take Kwity Paye and pair him opposite I don't know, Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney. And suddenly you've got a really good defensive line. Also, shout out Malik Jackson, Birmingham High School. He's on that defensive line. He went to USC for like 20 minutes before he transferred. But he's a nice guy, so there's that. But this is shaping up to be a pretty good defensive line that could really terrorize quarterbacks. They already did that last season. You take Kwity Paye, and this is arguably one of the better defensive lines in the NFL, and also a fairly young defensive line that's already really good. So Kwity Paye at 26 to the Browns. I think he'd make an immediate impact on that defensive line and that defense as a whole.
I've got him going defensive line too, but I've got the Browns taking an interior lineman here with Christian Barmore. And for the reasons you talked about, Josh, you look at their two edge rushers. They've got Myles Garrett, who's a top 5 edge rusher in this league, and then Jadeveon Clowney, who's coming off an injury, but they're hoping to strike gold, and they're hoping he gets healthy and gets back to the form he was in when he was in Houston. So your edge rushers are pretty set. You can always add more. The thing about this Browns team, and we never would have said this a couple short years ago, they don't have that many needs, which just seems crazy, but they really don't. if you have to build somewhere, I would look at the interior, and I think Barmore's a guy that really fits. I mean, we saw the impact he had on that Alabama defense this past year. He was phenomenal. He was kind of the, he was the anchor of that front four, and I think he's got a chance to make an impact in Cleveland as soon as year one. So I've got Barmore here at 26 to the Browns.
I also have Cleveland going defense here, but I have him going Zaven Collins. He was a leading tackler in all of college football this last year. An underrated talent out of Tulsa, and I think Zaven Collins is one of those guys where people are going to regret taking him. He's going to be one of those types of game wreckers. Pair him with a guy like Anthony Walker in that linebacking core in Cleveland. Obviously, the front two edge rushers you guys mentioned a few minutes ago are two great talents in the NFL. So I think getting a guy like Zaven Collins, who's young, who's raw, who's athletic, and is a playmaker, I think he's going to be a good fit in Cleveland. So I have Cleveland at 26, taking Zaven Collins.
Yeah, the Browns are one of the few teams in this first round where it just seems like you don't know who the player is going to be, but it seems like you already have an idea of what the position is going to be. I'm with Lyle. I got them going with Barmore out of Alabama, where if he's still sitting there at 26, I think he's the obvious pick. I do like, potentially some other guys there, depending on, again, who's still available. But Barmore, I think he's a lot better than pick number 26 in this draft. And if you're the Browns, again, Lyle already hit it. They've made some solid additions to the defensive line this offseason with Jadeveon Clowney. Hopefully he's healthy, because if he's healthy and you got him and Myles Garrett there, then you got Barmore. That's going to be scary moving forward. So I got them going defensive line. Again, I think most mock drafts you see has them going that route as well. But also, I mean, if Zaven Collins is there at 26 as well, the dude's, you can make a case the best linebacker in this draft by, some experts. So not a bad selection there either. All right, guys, pick number 27. This is the Baltimore Ravens, one of two first-round picks that they have now. They made a trade this past week, so I had to go back and actually earlier in the show, because I didn't make a switch, that the Ravens have two picks. So they're picking a 27 and 31. This is their first. Who do we got, guys?
So they have two of the next 5 picks starting at 27. So that, I think, eases a little bit of the tension off what position they want to go for here, because they kind of have a couple options. This is actually where I have Zaven Collins falling. So I said earlier that I originally had him going to Washington, go football team. But then with some of the things that have transpired over the last week, and especially with Trey Lance still on my board, I decided to rework those just that one pick. So here's where I have Zaven Collins falling. And part of the reason is, number one, he could fit immediately. Number two, like I said, the Ravens have 2 of the next 5 picks, and I don't know if Zaven Collins falls down to 31. And 3, they lost 3 defensive starters to free agency. So given that they've lost 3 guys to free agency, and Zaven Collins is a player that will make an immediate impact, I think that makes him a slam dunk pick to take at 27 if he's still available. So that's where I have Collins falling.
Well, with one of these 2 picks, I've just got to say, the Ravens have to get Lamar Jackson another wide receiver. I mean, they've got Mark Andrews. They have got to get this guy another pass catcher, because it's kind of just been a turnstile, and Hollywood Brown has not panned out to the pick he was a couple years ago. So with this pick, I have him going Terrace Marshall, who's still on the board, who was the number 3 receiver on that national championship team, but pretty good number 3 receiver who caught 13 touchdowns back in 2019. Then he caught 10 in 2020 before opting out. So this guy's kind of a deep threat. That's what he does best. People call him a straight line runner, but he's a big body and he wins 50-50 balls. Although people said the same thing about DK Metcalf too. So we'll see how many different routes and how many different patterns they send him on at the next level. But they just need to get Lamar Jackson another big bodied, good hands wide receiver to pair with Mark Andrews. Because again, that's been their Achilles heel the last couple of years. Guys need to catch the ball and help this offense out. And I think Marshall is a perfect fit.
For me, one of the biggest needs Baltimore has is, yes, a receiver, but I think more importantly, what they need is someone in the secondary. I haven't taken Trayvon Moehrig. I think he's one of those guys where he is a true raw safety. He's a ball hawk. He's able to get to the ball. Baltimore has a decent pair of corners, but I think someone at that safety position is much more important at this point in the draft, especially because there is such a drop-off of the first group of receivers, and then there's still a great group of, B-level receivers. So I think Baltimore could get a receiver in the second round, or even maybe at 31. But I think Moehrig's one of those guys from TCU who just gets to the ball, plays great defense, and is a great instinctual football player. So At 27, Baltimore taking Trayvon Moehrig.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed pretty obvious for the Ravens that wide receiver was kind of the direction they need to address, considering that their big offseason acquisition has been Sammy Watkins, which absolutely not. So I think the Ravens even came out today or yesterday and they said, like, with one of these 2 first-round picks, like, they are going wide receiver. They pretty much confirmed it. It's just a matter of, are they going to go at a 27 or 31? I think it'd be smart to go wide receiver at 27, considering you have to wait about 4 more picks, and you don't want to have some guys go off the board. So I got them going wide receiver here. I am not going Terrace Marshall, even though I think that'd be the smart pick, because I have him find one more spot, which would be a dream of mine. So I got them going with Rondale Moore. They already have one speedster in Hollywood Brown, who hasn't broken out yet, but he did show flashes last year. Give Lamar Jackson another speedster, Rondale Moore. A lot of people think that he's a very underrated wide receiver just because we didn't really see him at all last year. So give Lamar Jackson another speedy receiver. Again, we talked about this, I think, like, last week or something with the Chiefs, but pretty much if you're Lamar Jackson, literally go up to Hollywood Brown, go up to Rondale Moore and just say, run. Just run to the end zone and I'll heave it there. And we'll make, oh no, it was the Giants, because they have John Ross now, along with, who else were we talking about in regards to speedsters with the Giants? I can't remember, but they have John Ross. So we were saying just run forward. So Rondale Moore, I got him going to the Ravens at 27. But again, that's because I have pick number 28, who's the Saints, taking someone who I would really, really enjoy having there. But Josh, kick us off with the Saints.
So at 28, a player that I've seen kind of surge in a lot of the NFL draft talk the last, I'd say, 2 weeks, is Jarman Davis from Kentucky. And the Saints have a couple different needs here. And it seems like a lot of people are really high on Jarman Davis, especially over the course of the last 2 or 3 weeks. Some people aren't high on him. Other people have him going as high as top 15. I have him still available at 28. He's one of 2 linebackers that I think are still first-round worthy when you get down, depending on who I have left. I had Zaven Collins going at 27. I like Jarman Davis to go to the Saints here. They also can get a cornerback, but I think they can probably get one later. I'm interested to hear what Blake has to say about that. But Davis is quick, he's athletic, and I think that really fits with this defense already. So I'm going to go Kentucky's Jarman Davis with the Saints taking a linebacker at 28.
I think Blake and I have our picks flipped because Blake can correct me in a minute if I'm wrong, but it sounds like he has Moore at 27 and Marshall at 28. I have Marshall at 27. I have the Saints taking Moore here at 28. So Rondale Moore, I think, would be a perfect partner for Michael Thomas in this receiving core because clearly the Saints need another receiver. Michael Thomas is one of the best receivers in this league, but what he does so well is beating people in the short game and racking up catches within 15 yards. He doesn't often beat people over the top and beat them deep. So I looked at this and said they could probably use a big play threat with him, where Rondale Moore, as we saw in his freshman year, produces so many home run plays that I think it's a perfect complement to Thomas. To be honest on Moore, if he had actually played games the last 2 years because he was hurt most of his sophomore year, he opted out for the most part early on in his junior year, he might be going higher than this. So there's a little bit of risk, but there's also a big chance at a high reward with this pick just because of the lack of games he's played. But if he's healthy and he's on the field, I think this is a pretty good pair between Thomas and Moore.
So here at 28 for New Orleans, I have them getting one of the best players in the draft. And Blake, you're going to like this. I think you actually will. Oh. He's still on the board, and he actually fell to this point, and I think he's a great player to complement a guy like Cam Jordan. I have Gregory Rousseau falling all the way to New Orleans.
I'll be quite down.
Yeah. So
let me get that.
It's just the needs of teams. I don't think the middle of the pack, there are many teams that need a talent like Rousseau to pair with some of the guys that they have. And I think to pair Rousseau with a guy like Cam Jordan and the defense that we've seen the Saints have the last few years, they got to stop getting screwed on some calls. But, hey, it is what it is, Blake. But I think Gregory Rousseau falls a bit for no reason of his own. That's just the way the draft works, to 28 to New Orleans.
Yeah, no, I'd be down for Gregory Rousseau. For the Saints, it seems like it's going to be either just 2 positions, cornerback or wide receiver. Depending, I'd be down if somehow Caleb Farley falls to 28. let me get that. But if I'm the Saints, I'm praying and hoping that some wide receivers fall. The ideal scenario would be Rashad Bateman somehow is sitting there at 28. That would be fantastic. But assuming he's not, Lyle, you were right. We swapped. I got Terrace Marshall going to 28 because, well, one, just the fact that he's the local kid at LSU, I think that'd be great too. The Saints desperately need to get Michael Thomas some help because we saw it last year. When Michael Thomas goes down, it is absolute hell. And it is, I mean, Emmanuel Sanders was
it's hell
the
in
number
fantasy
one.
too. It's hell in fantasy.
For Josh only when he's relying on Emmanuel Sanders to be catching passes. Emmanuel Sanders is gone, and the Saints have some really nice young weapons, but not reliable number 2 options. Whoever the Saints take here as a wide receiver would immediately become their number 2 option because little Jordan Humphrey, sorry, just no, you're not going to be the answer moving forward. So I really like the Saints to take a wide receiver here, pair with Michael Thomas, especially if you got Jameis Winston throwing the ball, which it looks like it will be. Jameis knows how to just find 15 to 20 targets per wide receivers every game. So again, depending on what cornerbacks are sitting here, maybe, but I think if you're the Saints, you got to go wide receiver because, like I said, if something happens to Michael Thomas, things get bad and things can get bad fairly quickly, which brings us now, guys, to pick number 29. We got the Green Bay Packers. This one's fairly easy, guys. I think we can skip this one because I got them going Kellen Mond. Here at pick number 29, I got them going another quarterback. I know you guys all have
load up that QB room. Load it
all right,
up,
guys. So the Packers last year decided let's take Jordan Love in the first round. I believe trade up to get Jordan Love. And then in the second round, you know what? Let's take a running back in A.J. Dillon, even though we have Aaron Jones, and we actually extended Aaron Jones this offseason. They did lose Jamal Williams, so I guess A.J. Dillon's going to be able to see more playing time, so maybe it's not going to be an awful pick, but 2 questionable first and second round picks last year. What do the Packers do this year, boys? Do they address the quarterback room with Aaron Rodgers being there for a couple more years? Get yourself a quarterback 3 for the next few years? Or get A.J. Dillon a backup and get your running back 3 for the next couple of years?
Well, if one of you can go ahead and pin PT Sports Frisco's first comment, give Green Bay a wide receiver at 29. This seems to be a pretty common theme at this point with the Packers taking a wide receiver here, and doing my YouTube Wikipedia research. Just kidding. I've been going through a lot of Packers sites, whether it be from Madison or Green Bay or ESPN, whatever. It seems like the theme is Packers taking Elijah Moore. Obviously, 2 of you guys already have him off your board in your last 2 picks. I have Elijah Moore on my board. I also have Rashad Bateman. I also have Terrace Marshall. I also have Rondale Moore. So I'm kind of going take my pick here. I'm totally fine if they take a wide receiver. I'm going to go with Rashad Bateman. I think it's obvious that they could add another top wide receiver here. Obviously, they had some decent wide receivers last season too. But look, I think the theme has been Elijah Moore on a lot of these Packers sites, whether it's a legitimate site or whether it's a strictly fan blog. No offense. Yeah, I think for me, I value Bateman a little bit higher when we gave our wide receiver rankings. So I'm going to have them taking Rashad Bateman at 29, even though I still have Elijah Moore on the board. And I will be fine if I get this pick wrong, but they still have him taking a wide receiver, which I'm pretty confident with. And if there's Packers fans here, comment, and I'd like to know which wide receiver you want.
Any of them, just any
let us
wide
know which
receiver.
I actually ended up going Tevin Jenkins with this pick. I know they need a wide receiver, but I've also seen a lot of reports saying they might want to address the offensive line. Jenkins is still on my board. Obviously, he's a big physical lineman. He can do a lot of good. He can do a lot of good things, and obviously with Rodgers aging, you want to get him some protection, and obviously he's had some offensive line protection issues in the past and throughout his career for that matter. So I like Jenkins at this pick here. I think he can fit in pretty quick. So that's what I did here at 29.
I also have the Packers addressing a big need and something that they've avoided doing in the last, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years of the draft. And that's take an offensive talent weapon in the first round. And I too have him going Rashad Bateman. So Josh and I doubling up again. So Rashad Bateman to Green Bay. Josh pretty much covered a majority of it.
Again, this seems like one where I do like Lyles, Tevin Jenkins. I had him going a lot earlier. If he's still somehow on the board at 29, I think that'd be a fantastic move for the Packers. Get Aaron Rodgers some protection. But I do have the Packers going wide receiver. I did have to switch this 5 minutes ago because I was still convinced that quarterback is the move. I had them going Davis Mills. It just seemed too obvious. It seemed like the surefire pick. But I got them going Elijah Moore. I saw Elijah Moore on my board. I think he's, aside from his little pissident. No, that doesn't work. I think he's a really good wide receiver. Alan Lazard, I think he's a fine option, but you need more help because the Equanimous St. Brown experiment. I don't think any player.
Valdez-Scantling, he's great for a couple big plays every few weeks.
I was with him 2 days ago. I was hanging out with him and Scotty Miller 2 days ago. Yeah,
Marquez.
And Scotty
was it Marquez Valdez-Scantling who Aaron Rodgers literally could never get a connection with and would drop pass after pass, and Aaron Rodgers literally looked like he was gonna choke on the sideline. Anyway,
First of all, Blake, it's Marquez.
Anyway, Aaron Rodgers needs another wide receiver, and it's Elijah Moore. He's good. He's fine. So go there. But again, the Packers, they're going to take a quarterback. They're going to take a running back. Maybe they'll trade up and do one of those. We'll have to wait and see. All right, guys, pick number 30. As of right now, it is the Buffalo Bills. Again, we got 3 more picks to get to. Then we're going to be doing our top 5 linebackers in this upcoming draft, our top 5 defensive backs, and then we're going to be opening up the floor to you guys for a big Q&A. We got a lot of questions on Twitter tonight. So again, if you have a Q&A question in regards to the NFL draft, hit us up on Twitter at the HHShow_. Those questions get top priority. If you have anything related to your team, hot takes, questions, rumors, anything like that, hit us up on Twitter. We'll read your question, we'll answer it, and then we'll get to as many questions as we can in the live chat before we wrap this up. All right, guys, Bills at 30. Who are we going with?
Okay, so guys, this past season alone, you think about the Bills, what do you think of? Defense, special teams?
That I was spot on about the Josh Allen pick. That's what I think of.
Okay, so I'm getting an offensive theme here.
I was going to say, I got to be honest. I think of Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs.
Okay, so offense. Well, you know what this Bills team could really use?
Wait, I know what I think of. Okay. Fans jumping and breaking tables.
Yep.
I like it. Not the direction I was going with it, but I like it. So they had a lot of really good offensive talent last year, and you know what they could use this year? More offensive talent. So I've got Elijah Moore going off the board here. Look, it was a huge strength for them last season, and the wide receiving core was pretty good, obviously led by Stephon Diggs. But look, Blake already mentioned this. Emmanuel Sanders is now a Bill. Cole Beasley is a Bill. And Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley are just not long-term options here. So take Elijah Moore, add to your offense. It's already lethal. Make it even a little bit better here. And take Elijah Moore. And you guys have talked a lot about him. Obviously, he's had a couple of really big seasons and still been overshadowed by the Bama and LSU guys in the SEC. So I like Elijah Moore if he's still there. If he's not, I still have a bunch of wide receivers on the board. But I like Elijah Moore here.
I have Bills going defense for this pick, and I've got Aziz Ojulari off the board at 30 to Buffalo. They need some help at edge rusher, obviously critically important position in this day and age. I know they've got Ed Oliver at defensive tackle, but the edge rushers they're throwing out there are kind of aging, and they could use somebody a little younger, quicker, and more productive. Ojulari was great for Georgia last year. I mean, 9.5 sacks. He had 12.5 tackles for loss. Again, this is another guy that could go earlier in this draft, but if there's an offensive need like this first round seems to be, it's very offensive heavy. And a guy like Ojulari could slide toward the end of the first round, and I think that makes a lot of sense for the Bills here.
I've got the Bills going offense, and I think one of the things we saw this last year was Josh Allen running more than the team would like. Yeah, he's good on his feet. He's quick. We saw him, break off for a 70-something yard run, stumble, and fall there, but whatever it may be. But I think one of the things we saw him doing was scrambling a lot. So I think that's a big concern for the Bills. So I have Buffalo going Sam Cosmi from Texas, the offensive tackle. I think he's a guy who's athletic enough and can sort of plug in and play on almost anywhere on the offensive line. So he's going to be a multi-tool offensive line player. So Cosmi from Texas is going to be a Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, the Bills could use a little more offense. I do think, though, they do have a solid wide receiver core. They got some solid running backs there. So I do have them going defense. And somehow, some way, he fell all the way here to number 30, and that's linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I don't think he's going to slide all the way to 30. I think he's going to be a lot higher, but I had him going to 30. I think if he's sitting there for the Bills, a slam dunk pick. Again, chance to be the best linebacker in the class. Not necessarily a position in need, but when you can get a top player at their position, a guy that has the chance to really, really be a good player in the NFL, I think you go there. I do think the Bills, I know a few years ago their defense was one of the best in the NFL, and I think a lot of people kind of just assume that the Bills defense is fairly good. Last year they were kind of okay. They weren't awful by any means, but they weren't like as good as people I think believe they were. I definitely think their defense could use some work. So again, not necessarily a position of desperate need, but when you got a guy there that again is the case, the best linebacker in this class, could potentially be a top 15, 20 pick, and you can get him at 30, by all means, go for it there. Guys, we got the Ravens again at number 31, and then we got 2 picks left. So we did part 1 for the Ravens. What's part 2?
Blake finally pronounces a name correctly on this show, and it's Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa. Well done, Blake.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So at 31 with the Ravens again from KC in the recent trade. Look, so I really like Brady's pick for Sam Cosmi at 30. I originally had him slated here at 31 without the Ravens taking a wide receiver in the first round, even though they kind of said that they're going to. So right here, I actually have Terrace Marshall going for Baltimore. Like you all said a few picks ago, need a wide receiver, kind of said that they're going to take one in the first round. And for me, I've got Terrace Marshall available. So this is where I have him going. If for some reason they don't take a wide receiver in the first round, I think Samuel Cosmi is a slam dunk pick. I also have Dickerson available. Lyle talked about him last show. He had him going, at this point, probably 8 picks ago. So he would still be available for me. But look, they just, the reason they have this pick is because they traded a starting offensive lineman. If they take an offensive lineman here in the first round, that's essentially a trade and then an immediate plug-in. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go offensive lineman with one of these picks. But for me, this is where I've got Terrace Marshall going.
Yeah, so I had Marshall at 27. The reason the Ravens have this pick at 31 is because they traded with the Chiefs. They sent Orlando Brown to Kansas City, which, my goodness. And they get the 31st pick back. So there's a needed offensive tackle here. Orlando Brown last year played left tackle for the Ravens. The reason he did that is because he slid over because Ronnie Stanley got hurt and missed almost the entirety of the year. So the need here for Ravens, if you need an offensive lineman, is right tackle. And this draft in terms of tackles is actually pretty deep. There's a few guys I thought about here. There's Cosmi, there's Leatherwood, even a guy like Walker Little. The guy I landed on, though, and slated in at this pick is Liam Eichenberg from Notre Dame. And the reason is because despite playing left tackle at Notre Dame, most people figure he profiles at right tackle and will slide in much easier at right tackle in the NFL. And Eichenberg was really good at Notre Dame. I mean, longtime starter, 30-plus starts. I mean, great blocker, especially in the run game, which Lamar is obviously going to do a lot. But I think him playing right tackle for this team and getting him at the end of the first round makes sense. And obviously, the history on these Notre Dame linemen is pretty good. And if you need proof of that, just look to the guy that's going to be playing across from him in Ronnie Stanley, who is arguably the best offensive lineman in this league. So I think Eichenberg can make a lot of sense here, and I think he goes 31 to the Ravens.
For me, 31 to the Ravens, I have Rondale Moore. You guys had him slated a little earlier. I just don't think he fits Green Bay's system all too well. I think Green Bay, which is why I had them go Bateman, Green Bay is more of a bigger offense. They use a lot more size, they use a lot of outside weapons. Baltimore is much quicker, much faster. They're running a lot faster pace. So I think Rondale Moore is a perfect fit for this Baltimore offense. We saw what he could do on all facets of the offense as wide receiver, at running back. And so that a player like him could fill the need of the running back position as well that we see Baltimore have. So I think it's one of those guys who is incredibly dynamic. Like Blake said earlier, we saw what he did his freshman year. We saw what he did against Ohio State. On primetime on ESPN. So I think Rondale Moore, the speed demon here, is a great fit in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I think for the Ravens, the first 2 picks seem fairly obvious. It just depends on which order they go. Wide receiver for one, and then offensive line for the other. I do have Samuel Cosmi going here from Texas. I think it'd be a good addition there. Lyle did sell me, though, on good old Liam, so we'll have to wait and see there because, again, you don't even have to watch tape. just see on the notes offensive lineman Notre Dame, and I think that's worthy enough of making a selection. So I don't even have to do any research on that, but I got them going with Samuel Cosme there, which, guys, brings us to pick number 32. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the reigning Super Bowl champions that are returning every player on starting offense and on their starting defense, which is remarkable. So you can make the case they don't really need anyone, but you can also make the case that, they still weren't necessarily the best team in the NFL that last year. Just because you have Tom Brady, that's the reason. So obviously there could be some positions that need. Unfortunately, we will not have Justin Fields going here at pick 32. He is off all of our boards, so sorry if you were wondering if they were going to go there. Guys, what do you got the Buccaneers going with here at pick number 32?
Look, considering what you just said, Blake, they've got everybody returning on both sides of the ball. This is such a slam dunk pick for select the best player available. And for me, I think for 3 of the 4 of us, in my opinion, the best player available is Trevon Moehrig from TCU. And I think a lot of the defensive backs that have been picked up to this point have been picked by teams that specifically need a corner, for example. And with Moehrig being a safety, I think that's what's going to cause him to fall a little bit more, maybe. This is a slam dunk pick, in my opinion. So if you take him here, this pick, I think, is made easier by the fact that they have everybody returning. And then it's kind of the mentality that, take the best player available in the first round. And then maybe after that, with whatever picks you have after that, then maybe try to think, okay, well, we might lose this player next year or the year after or whatever. So let's start kind of filling in some gaps for the future later on. I think in the first round, you take the best player available. And for me, that's Moehrig.
Okay, guys, bear with me on this. I'm getting a little crazy for this last pick, but with the 32nd pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Kyle Trask, quarterback, Florida. Here's why. Tom Brady is entering his age 44 season. As amazing as he has tried to prove to everybody that he's just going to play forever. But the reality of it is he will not. When he eventually is done and retires, the Buccaneers will not only have no backup at the quarterback spot, but they're not going to be in any position to pick a quarterback in that upcoming draft because, as we assume from all their starters returning and them being such a young team outside of Tom Brady, that they're going to continue to be good and be in Super Bowl contention every year. So they've got to let somebody develop and groom behind Brady so they don't have to try to use some late round pick on a project quarterback when they eventually need one. Instead, they'll have somebody developed. And my QB6 is Kyle Trask. So obviously he's shown flashes of being really good. He also has some development that he needs. And I think sitting behind a guy like Tom Brady would do that guy wonders. So with a team that doesn't have many needs, but will eventually need a heir to Tom Brady, I think Trask makes a lot of sense.
I don't hate that.
No, I don't either. I think it makes sense. I think it makes more sense than a guy like Kellen Mond, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what's their next pick though?
Probably 64 or 65, whatever it is, I would assume.
Yeah, it's something like that. So they probably go best player available there, if I had to guess. But yeah, that's the thing. If it's late second round, I'm assuming most.
64.
Yeah, so by that point, I'm assuming guys like Trask, like Mond, like Mills are all probably gone.
Mm-hmm.
Mills.
I like the pick. I like the pick. For me, I think what you look at Tampa Bay from this last year is they had pretty much had somebody step up at every position that needed to. Oh, receiver gets hurt. Hey, look, Antonio Brown's going to play. Your running backs are okay. Oh, we're going to bring in Leonard Fournette. Things like that on the offensive side of the ball. The one position, you saw AQ Shipley go down with a career-ending neck injury. Boom, next guy up mentality. I think one of the things that Bruce Arians has shown us throughout his career in coaching is that, he works great with quarterbacks, but he also works great with offensive linemen. I think a guy like Creed Humphrey would be a really good fit here for Tampa because he is similar to what I said about Cosme. He's more of a versatile offensive lineman. He can play either side of the ball, either left or right tackle. And so I think he's one of those guys where we did see him play for a while at Oklahoma. He's a bigger guy. I think he's like 6'6", 305, somewhere in that range. So he's a big guy. He's athletic for his size. So I think Creed Humphrey is a guy you can sort of stockpile and hold on for a bit and utilize him as needed.
I am kind of upset at Lyle for going the direction he did because I thought I was going to be the only one that's coming out of nowhere from left field. The Buccaneers, again, for the most part, they're going to be good for the next 1-2 years. I think Brady signed an extension, so he's there for at least 2 more years. Until the day that Tom Brady says, I am retiring from the NFL, I am just going to believe him that he is just going to be what he is now. So he literally can have 5 more years than him, and who knows. So you're the Buccaneers. Again, there's no... I mean, had they not brought back their wide receiving core, I'd be saying wide receiver seems like the slam dunk pick, but they brought back Chris Godwin. Did they bring back Antonio Brown, or is he a free agent still?
He's a free agent.
So he's still a free agent, but he technically wasn't a starter. So not really a loss there, but they still have some pretty solid options there. I got them going quarterback here at 32. I got them going quarterback because, again, Brady's going to be there for at least 2 more years. Time to develop a quarterback, and eventually once Brady leaves, hopefully he's developed by then and he's good enough. If not, you run him out there for a year. If he sucks, if your team is awful, well, then in 2023, 2024, you're going to have the number 1, number 2 overall pick, and you can get your quarterback there. So not Kyle Trask. I got them going Kellen Mond. I hate to do it. It's disgusting. It's gross. But for some reason, Kellen Mond is one of these quarterbacks guys that has been climbing up a lot of people's mocks. Experts like him. They think he has the best chance to be a guy that you can groom, where he's not going to be a starter within the next year or two. That's 100% certain. But a lot of people like his talent. They like his potential. And who better than to groom under Tom Brady, Bruce Arians for a couple of years? Again, you need nothing out of him for the next few years. You need nothing whatsoever. Because, guys, I don't know if you all know this. Do you guys want to take a guess at who the current backup quarterback is right now in Tampa Bay?
Is it Josh Rosen?
Yeah, it was Rosen at one point. It was Glennon at one point, right? It was somebody. Yeah,
but it is none of those guys. Any guesses, Brady?
They re-signed. I know they just re-signed him because there was the photo of him carrying Tom Brady off the boat.
Ryan Griffin. That is the backup quarterback for the Buccaneers. Again, Kellen Mond, you literally don't need anything out of him for the next 2 years, maybe even 3 years, depending on how long Brady's there. So he really can be a long project. And again, whenever Brady retires, hopefully by then Mond has been groomed well enough where you can throw him out there, see what he looks like. Worst case scenario, he doesn't pan out. It doesn't really waste this pick because you're going to be competing for a Super Bowl next year. And then you pick a quarterback when you're picking in the top 2 or 3 in the 2029 NFL draft when Tom Brady eventually retires. So again, who knows? But I think Kellen Mond, again, groom a quarterback. A lot of people think he has high upside potential, so you might as well go with him there. But guys, that does wrap up our entire first round mock draft picks 1 through 32. We're gonna have to go and write all because I don't want to go 1 through 32 right now. Read them all off. That's too hectic. So we'll write all these down, and then in our next show, whenever we do it next week or 2 weeks, if we take a break, we'll come on. We'll say how many we got right, what our percentage was, and have bragging rights for whoever got the most right. So there's our complete mock draft. Again, the last 4 episodes, 1 through 8, 9 through 16. So if you want to see who your team took, go back to one of those episodes, and you guys can watch that right now. Guys, before we get to our NFL draft Q&A, again, we got a lot of good questions on Twitter. We'll get to a lot of good ones here in the live chat. We'll briefly go over our top 5 linebackers and our top 5 defensive backs in the NFL draft. For the most part, I assume all these names have already been mentioned. So again, no reason to go in depth really on any of these guys. Maybe if there's a questionable one you have at number 1, like, Chris Sims having Javonte Williams as his RB6, maybe give a little brief explanation there. But for the most part, again, no reason to go too in depth. So guys, again, you can go 1 through 5, 5 through 1. Who are your top 5 linebacker prospects in this NFL draft?
Okay, so top 5 linebackers, 1 through 5 in order. I've got Micah Parsons from Penn State, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame, Zaven Collins, who I had a few mix-ups with today, from Tulsa at 3. I already mentioned Jarman Davis from Kentucky sneaking into my first round at number 4. And then a player who I know who he is and have watched him play before quite a bit this past season, because at this point we're just watching anybody play. But ultimately, when it comes to draft stuff, somebody I'm not super familiar with, and that's Missouri's Nick Bolton. And it seems like some analysts are pretty high on him. Some scouts are pretty high on him. I've seen him sneaking into 1 or 2 first-round mock drafts. He obviously did not get into mine or anybody else's, but he seems to be fairly high on some people's boards. So I've got Nick Bolton from Missouri at number 5. And then after that, I don't really know if there's anybody else outside of a clear top 5 for me.
1 through 5, I had Parsons at 1, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah at 2, Zaven Collins at 3, Nick Bolton at 4, and then Jabril Cox from LSU at 5.
I have the same exact 5 as Lyle.
Well done. I mean, for the most part, that makes sense.
There are only so many linebackers in this draft. I feel like it's a very
Yeah.
shallow draft. A guy like Dylan Moses is there too, but
Yeah,
he hasn't. Yeah.
What happened to him? I mean, he was otherworldly. I guess that injury totally knocked
The
his
injury
stock.
killed him. Changed him.
So yeah, for the most part, we all kind of have a similar top 5. I got Micah Parsons at 1. I do have Zaven Collins at 2. For Jeremiah, guys, why don't we just call him Jock? I mean, those are his initials. I think that sounds pretty badass. So
his nickname is JOK. I think that's what people call him.
Yeah, well, he's now officially Jacques. I'm going out French.
So he's
It's
French
Yeah, so it's not Jock. He's now Jacques.
Jacques.
So I'm going Jacques at number 3.
Jacques.
I got Nick Bolton at number 4. I think he's underrated from Missouri. And Josh, I think you may have added an R to his name. I believe it's Jamin Davis from Kentucky. I don't think there's an R in there. I don't think it's Jarman. I think or as Ron Burgundy says, it's a soft J. So I think it's Jamin Davis. So I got him at 5.
It is
but
Jamin Davis. My apologies. That
I
must
was
have been a
upset,
typo
though,
when
when
I first wrote it down.
I was upset though when I learned his name wasn't Jammin, because I thought that would have been a cool name, Jamin Davis. But
Jamin
Davis.
Davis.
I guess Jamin's okay. All right, guys. Top 5 defensive backs in the NFL draft. So cornerbacks, safeties. Who do you got in your top 5?
In order, I've got, well, I guess not really in order, because I do have a safety thrown in with a bunch of corners here. I've got Patrick Surtain from Bama, J.C. Horn from South Carolina, Caleb Farley. I have it 3. I think I would have him higher if it weren't for the injury. I obviously had him going pretty early in my draft, though. So Farley at 3 from Virginia Tech, Trevon Moehrig from TCU at 4, and then Greg Newsome from Northwestern at 5.
Yeah, my top 5 are all corners. It's Surtain at 1, Farley at 2, Horn at 3, Newsome at 4, and then Asante Samuel Jr. at 5.
I also have Moehrig thrown in there as a safety. Just as a heads up, I'm not going to go out of order, but Moehrig's one of them. I have Surtain, Farley, Newsome, J.C. Horn, and then Asante Samuel Jr.
Yeah,
I had him in and out of my first round too. I just couldn't find a spot for him.
That's how I was.
I got Surtain at 1, J.C. Horn at 2, Caleb Farley at 3, Greg Newsome at 4, and I got Trayvon Moehrig. I don't know the official pronunciation. I got him at number 5. So that wraps up our top 5s. Unfortunately, no top 5 kicker, no top 5 punters, and no top 5 long snappers this year, unfortunately. So Brady, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to throw out all those long snapper notes that you spent hours on this past week doing. So
whatever.
That's all good. All right, guys, it's time now to get to the NFL draft Q&A. Again, if you have any questions in regards to the NFL draft, in regards to questions about your team, questions in regards to picks, hot takes you have, rumors you're hearing, anything you want in regards to the NFL draft, you can either hit us up on Twitter at the HHShow_. We're going to be reading those questions right now. So if you have a question you want answered, hit us up over there. If you have a question you want answered in the live chat, you guys can donate to the super chat. Your question will be guaranteed to be answered. That way it helps support the show and it comes up in a nice shiny color. So your question is cooler than everyone else's. So again, hit us up. We're going to try to answer as many questions as we can in the next 10 to 15 minutes or so before we head out. So guys, let's head over to Twitter right now. Let's get this bad boy underway. Our first question comes from our man Lucas McKnight. Will any of the quarterbacks drafted start and produce like Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow from last year? And can any of the quarterbacks drafted last year lead their team to a playoff berth in year 1? Can any of the quarterbacks drafted I read that wrong. Can any of the quarterbacks drafted lead their team to a playoff berth in year 1? So I guess a 2-part question. Do any quarterbacks in this draft you think can have a season like Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow did? And part 2, do any of these quarterbacks, do you think they can lead their teams to the playoffs in their rookie season?
I'll jump in here really quickly. I think we're going to see something from Trevor Lawrence similar to what we heard Justin Herbert say last year. And it was, well, this is kind of easy because they're just so smart and they're so analytical with the game that they're able to just pick it apart from standing back there in the pocket. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be one of those guys who's going, yes, he's going to be number 1 overall pick, but he's going to have one of those seasons where it just looks natural for him.
Yeah, I'll take it a step further. I think the Jaguars make the playoffs next year as a wild card team, but I think they make the playoffs. I think we're going to see a similar thing from Trevor Lawrence that we saw from Andrew Luck. The Colts were 2-14 before they took Luck. Year one, Luck was a starter. They go to the playoffs. I think it's going to be a similar thing. An elite quarterback like that, or potentially an elite quarterback like that, can change a franchise. I think that's what Trevor Lawrence does. In terms of who has Herbert or Burrow success, I think Lawrence, and I think wherever Justin Fields goes. Oh, okay, let me throw one more in. Sorry, before Josh goes. Whoever San Francisco takes, that guy will have a chance to get him to the playoffs too, just because the rest of that Niners roster is loaded.
That's what I was going to say. I feel pretty confident about whoever the Niners take having a chance at a playoff spot, but maybe not a Herbert-like season. I think that much is possible. The only person who I see having a Herbert-like season potentially would be Trevor Lawrence. And I do agree with Lyle. I think that there's a pretty good chance that team makes the playoffs as a wild card team. So I think I have a different answer for each one. I think Trevor Lawrence is the most likely to have a Herbert-like season, but of course the Chargers did make the playoffs. And then I think whoever is drafted by the Niners is not going to have a Herbert-like season, but has the higher chance of making the playoffs. So those are I'll go two different ways with it.
Yeah, the tough thing is, aside from Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, the rest of these quarterback picks can end up being backups. I mean, Mac Jones, he could be the backup in San Francisco until they realize week 2 that he is the answer and Jimmy Garoppolo is not. Trey Lance, depending on where he goes, if it's the Falcons, the Broncos, he might be sitting in Atlanta. He might be fighting for a job in Denver. You can make the same case for Justin Fields. So in regards to like number wise, Trevor Lawrence is like the easy pick, and then Zach Wilson number 2. In regards to playoffs, I don't think the Jaguars' prediction's that far fetched. I think there's a solid chance that they can easily win at least 6 games, 7 or 8 or something like that. The easy one's the 49ers, because like I said, they already have a playoff team. They have a Super Bowl caliber team if they're healthy. And again, come week 2 or week 3, when they realize that Mac Jones is better than Jimmy Garoppolo, Mac Jones will lead them to the playoffs. All right, guys, at Ravens, trade for Julio. After the top 5 quarterbacks, who will be the best quarterback? So I don't know if that's necessarily asking who's the quarterback after that. Just out of those top 5 quarterbacks, who do you think out of the rest has the chance to be the best quarterback in this draft? Well, mine's easy since I already pretty much answered it. It's Kellen Mond, assuming he develops the way top experts believe. So Kellen Mond is my pick.
I'm going to go in Lyle's direction. I think it's Kyle Trask, and Blake was a huge fan of Trask going into the last college football season, and from very early in the season kind of sold me on Kyle Trask. And then he had a really good year, and something Lyle mentioned last episode was how highly would Trask be touted right now if his last 3 games, which were technically like postseason games, were not as bad. And I think he'd be a higher rated prospect. I don't think he's one of those top 5 quarterbacks or top 4 quarterbacks even. But outside of that top 4 or 5, I kind of like Trask. I mean, he was a Heisman candidate for a reason. He kind of came out of nowhere in college a couple years ago, and he pieced together a few really, really good seasons. So I think he could be a steal wherever he's picked up.
I'm also going to go with Trask. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lyle. Go ahead.
No. Oh, you can go.
I was going to say, I'm also going to go with Trask. I think, I said this, I think in last week's show, is we saw what he did with some great players around him. And I think that heightened his draft stock and put him in Heisman contention, obviously. And I think he's one of those guys that is able to take his game to the next level, is able to progress and learn more and learn the NFL system as opposed to just college. I think Florida does a good job preparing players for the NFL, and I think he's going to be one of those guys that could take the next step and eventually be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
I'm going to go with Trask too, although if you want one more name, because, I mean, after those first 5 quarterbacks, it's kind of just taking a gamble at this point on somebody. If I'm going to take a gamble on somebody, I know this name gets some eye rolls on this show sometimes, but I'm going to go Jamie Newman, just because
God.
That guy is that guy's so unknown. I mean, he's super toolsy. There was a reason people were really high on him at the start of the college football season. We just haven't seen what he can really do since his year at Wake Forest. So if he goes in the 3rd, 4th round to some team that's got a good system that he fits, you never know.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then again, another name you can throw out that we, jokingly talked about last week going to 20 is Davis Mills, who a lot of people really like, that he can develop and whatnot. But I don't think he's going to be going to the Bears at 20 necessarily. Guys, next question comes from a man Connor of the Jaguars, Jets, 49ers, Lions, and Falcons. Who is currently set up the best for their quarterback pick to succeed, and which is most set up for their quarterback to fail?
I mean, I think the best setup team has to be the Niners, like we talked about. I mean, this is borderline a Super Bowl roster if they're all healthy. The worst, it has to be the Jets. I mean, I don't think that's even up for debate, if you ask me.
Nope.
Yep. Same thing here.
Yeah, I was going to say those two, but looking at these right now, I think the Falcons could be a potential one, just because I do think they have a solid amount of talent, especially if you groom a quarterback for a year or two and then you throw them into the system there. But yeah, the Niners, just because, again, they're a Super Bowl contending team if everyone's healthy, so Mac Jones can easily lead them to the playoffs. And yeah, the Jets, just an absolute dumpster fire. Zach Wilson, the poor guy. Like, the dude has to be upset knowing he's going. But maybe since Adam Gase is gone, maybe there's slight hope surrounding him. But yeah, the Jets, my God. Guys, time for one more question from Twitter before we move over to the live chat. So again, if you guys have any NFL draft-related questions, hit us up in the live chat. We'll try to answer as many as possible before we head out. Guys, Joseph McLean wants to know, do you guys think Dallas might actually trade up to 4 to get Kyle Pitts? Now, there have been rumors about the Cowboys trading up. There have been some pretty much saying they have no interest in doing so, but they have been attached to Kyle Pitts. There is interest in regards to the Cowboys with Kyle Pitts. I think they've come out, or like Ian Rappaport pretty much came out and said they love Kyle Pitts. Like, that's the guy they've really been scouting. They'd love to get him at 10 if he falls to them, but they don't really think that they might trade up. But can you guys imagine an offense featuring a healthy Dak, a healthy Ezekiel Elliott, wide receivers of Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and then you throw in Kyle Pitts as the tight end? Like, that offense would just be an absolute, like, Dak Prescott, I want him as my fantasy quarterback if that's the case.
Yeah, and he slots in really well too.
Let me tell you. Go ahead, Brady.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you exactly how that would go. The Cowboys in that awful division would probably average about 34 points a game, and their defense would give up about 40.
I will say this. I think he's a great fit. He's gonna be a perfect fit on any team. Kyle Pitts would be. I don't think the Cowboys have the capital to get up to 4. I don't think they have enough to give away in picks, especially because the Cowboys are usually a middle of the pack to an upper level team in the NFL. No one's going to want, hey, we'll give you potentially next year, the 26th pick in the first round next season. Just, spitballing here if Dak stays healthy, things like that nature. And they don't want to give up any of their offensive weapons. You can't give up any of your guys. You're not going to give up you're not going to give up your running backs. You're not going to give up your receivers. They don't have enough capital on defense they want to give up. I think the Cowboys don't have a shot or enough to trade to get to 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of see that too. I don't think it happens. If another team ends up slotting in at number 4, I don't think it's going to be Dallas. But again, like you had kind of said, they're hoping that he could fall all the way to 10 so that they could get him there. I obviously had him going at 4 to Atlanta, given that I'm not doing any trades here. But with some of the with some of the stories and that have come out in these past 2 weeks, as Lyle alluded to earlier, with the top 8 kind of being all swapped around a little bit, I think there's a pretty good chance that maybe he will fall. If you see all those quarterbacks go in the first round, I mean, it's not super realistic, but I think there's a possibility he could fall to 10. And if he's not there, then improve your defense. Like Lyle said, they could score 34 points a game with that offense and still give up more than that. I think that's the biggest issue that they have right now, other than injuries the last couple seasons. But improve your defense if he's not there, and I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, the only way that Kyle Pitts somehow slips all the way to 10 is if we see the 5 quarterbacks essentially go in like the top 5 or go in the top 6 or 7. You got to have Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater. They both got to go. And then you're assuming that, Jamar Chase and maybe Jalen Waddle, those 2 wide receivers go. So, yeah, it's tough to see. Surtain could certainly go. So it's, not out of the realm. It definitely could happen. they would have to have a lot go their way. But with that, again, that'd be the most Cowboys thing ever. Where literally last year, like they didn't need CeeDee Lamb. They just took it to pretty much, I think, screw over the Eagles. And they don't need.
It ended up working for him.
Yeah, it ended up working because he ended up being one of the best wide receivers in that draft class so far. They don't need Kyle Pitts, but again, if they were to somehow finesse that and he falls to them at 10 and that's their offense. But as Lyle said, if you're scoring 35, that's great and all. But it doesn't matter when your defense is allowing 40. All right, guys, we're going to move over now to the live chat. So, again, if any questions, hit us up in the live chat right now. We got a few minutes answering questions. Short round, make sure you get your question ready. I see you roam in the comments. So, get something ready for us, guys. Dropping dimes. This is an interesting one. What would it take to trade out of one? So, let's just assume, guys, that it's not Trevor Lawrence because, again, you just don't. Even if a team says we'll give you our next 5 first-rounders, it's tough to pass on a talent like Trevor Lawrence. So let's say it's a draft where it's like a Baker Mayfield where he's going to be the number 1 pick, something like that where it's a quarterback, but it's not like a generational talent. What do you think it would take to trade out of one? Now, we've seen teams in years past, the Rams, the Redskins years ago, what they've done to trade up. But the Redskins only traded up to 2, I believe, so that wasn't even 1, and they traded a
football team, Blake.
Well, back then it was officially the Redskins. That's not currently. So, what do you think it would take, guys? What would you be asking for if you got the golden ticket, you got the number 1 overall pick, and a team's calling saying, what's it going to take to get out of you?
So I am a big fan of plugging somebody in that you can use immediately, especially if you're making a trade of this caliber. So if I've got the number 1 pick and I'm going to give away the number 1 pick is somebody who's probably going to start for me next year, I would say, okay, let's go with your next 3 first-round picks, and then somebody on your team that can start for me in that position right now. That's what I would do. So, for example, if I'm the I know you said to not go this way, but if I'm the Jaguars this year and somebody wants to trade in, I'm looking at my depth chart and going, ooh, okay, so quarterback, Gardner Minshew, CJ Beathard, and Jake Luton. No thanks. Sorry, Gardner. And Blake and I had kind of talked in the past, like, do you even deal with Gardner 1 more year and take Sewell? Well, no. But if I'm giving away number 1, I will
say this was after week 1 when they took down the Colts and Gardner Minshew looked like a really good quarterback.
Yes, and I agreed with you.
Then hell just absolutely broke loose, and that take looked absolutely awful. But hey, it's fine.
Yes. So if I'm the Jaguars this year, I'd say give me your next 4 first-round picks or 3 first-round picks, and then if it's a team that's trying to get to that number 1 spot, I'd say give me your quarterback. Like, okay, so here's one that we talked about was the Patriots. If the Patriots wanted Trevor Lawrence and they said, all right, we want that number 1 pick, I'd say give me Cam Newton and your next 4 first-round picks. That's what I would say. They wouldn't do it, but neither would I, so...
I think when there's an absolutely elite quarterback in a class like Trevor Lawrence, which does not come around often, it's once every 10 years or so, like you saw with Andrew Luck, then you could probably demand something like 3 first-round picks. If it's a normal year, like Blake said, Baker Mayfield, or back when Myles Garrett went number 1 in 2017, I think 2 firsts and then a midday pick is about right. So 2 firsts and a third, 2 firsts and a second, that's probably about, right in that ballpark.
Yeah, I'm with Lyle on that one. I think it all depends on the caliber of player available in the draft. So a guy like a Trevor Lawrence is going to obviously warrant a lot more than, no knock on him, but a guy like Baker Mayfield. So when there was question about who would be going number 1 in that draft, when there is an undoubted number 1 pick in the draft, it really doesn't matter what position it is at. If it is a this year like Trevor Lawrence, if years back with Myles Garrett, players that are almost solidified or guaranteed to go number 1, I think requires much more than years when there are many more question marks.
I would pretty much make NFL draft history and develop some new rule where essentially you're saying instead of like 3 first-round picks or something like that or whatever, I'm going, all right, so I want 5 first-rounders. But the thing is, they have no year on them. It's 5 first-rounders essentially until they expire where I choose when I want it. So if in 2024, the team you traded with has the number 1 overall pick, all right, we're going to use one of our coupons right now. If in 2026 they have the number 3 overall pick, all right, we're going to use our second coupon right now. and then you can just hold on to them and just hope for the best. But yeah, if it's a guy like Trevor Lawrence, I'm picking up the phone saying, "Oh, that's interesting. How are the wife and kids?" And then saying no, because unless you're like another team where you're just significantly upgrading a bunch of positions where you can win now and you can load up on draft picks. Because even the one that Josh suggested with like the Patriots, where we got Cam Newton and 5 first-rounders, I don't want Cam Newton leading my team. And if Trevor Lawrence goes to the Patriots, well, they're going to be competing for Super Bowls for the next 5 to 10 years. So those first-rounders are going to be in the high 20s, low 30s. So I'd get some NFL-ready talent, and I would load up on those picks. All right, guys, we got time for a short round question. Do you guys want to get to it?
Yeah, bring it on.
I already saw it, and I want to go first because I have the easy answer before anyone else can get to it. Who is someone who is already dead that you would choose to haunt you? And that is easy. I want the ghost of Stonewall Jackson haunting me. But it has to be John C. Reilly playing the ghost of Stonewall Jackson.
Interesting.
I'll think of another answer, but I just wanted to get that one first before anyone could claim it.
I knew that's where you were going with it too. I got mine.
I think I know what yours is going to be.
Really?
No, maybe I don't.
It's going to be the guy that used to sing Back Home Again in Indiana, so Brady can always be serenaded at his
neighbors,
proposal.
dude. 75th year anniversary this year. Trust me. But no, it's not him. I had a meeting about that today at work, so yeah, that's why I know that. Robin Williams.
Damn it! That's who I was going to go with for my second one, so I can just get comedy whenever I want.
Robin Williams would be the guy.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But he wouldn't haunt me. He'd just like come hang out.
He would just insult you when you're just hanging out.
Yeah, so I was gonna go with the ghost of Duke Ellington. But like big mouth Duke Ellington, I think that'd be hilarious.
Damn.
Man, I mean Robin Williams is a good one.
What about the ghost of Freddie Mercury?
The ghost of Freddie, that could be interesting. I think may they rest in peace. Dick Enberg or Chick Hearn would be great as a sports fan. I think that would be cool.
I like how none of these are someone that's just going to haunt us. It's just literally someone we want to just chill and hang out with, not necessarily just get like, screwed over by or just like scared by, where they're actually haunting us. Like
Jack the Ripper.
You're right.
And
like,
no thanks. Like
this is someone in the middle of the night that's like flickering your light switch, or that's like banging on your door and hearing it. No, this is like someone we're just saying, oh yeah, no, they're going to do their stand-up routine with us. So we're just completely going the opposite direction of the question. Maybe Lyle has a good one saved up, and all of us will look like idiots compared to his.
Yeah, give me the hash-slinging slasher.
No,
is he that though?
No, the Flying Dutchman. It's the Flying Dutchman, not the hash-slinging slasher.
Well, okay, Blake was mentioning flickering the lights, and in the hash-slinging slasher episode, they're talking about flickering. Maybe he's not dead. Well, because I guess he wasn't a real person. So maybe that's negated, and I can take the Flying Dutchman, although if we're going to go with an actual person, give me Babe Ruth, because I have so many questions for that guy, basically along the lines of how on earth did you live the lifestyle you did and turned into one of the most successful baseball players ever? Because that would never work today, to put it lightly. The lifestyle you
Were you
live.
saying drinking beer before well, then again, Felix Hernandez did that, and he had a pretty successful
He died at didn't he die at like 45?
Babe, I think it was like 53 or 54. It was later than that, but yeah, he died because I think he had health problems.
I'm gonna go with the Bird, Randy Jackson, not Randy Jackson. Yeah, the Bird, Randy Johnson hit.
Randy Jackson, the Bird that Randy Johnson hit.
Hey man, why do you have a sword signed by Randy Jackson?
You're not gonna not get a samurai sword signed by Randy Jackson.
I mean, I bumped into Randy Jackson. All he had was the samurai sword. You're not gonna not get Randy Jackson's out. I would have done the same thing. All right, well, short round. We literally didn't answer your question because
Randy Johnson hit.
None of these people are gonna be haunting us. This is someone we just wanted to chill with. So we'll go with that. So that's a perfect wrap up for the show. Again, guys, we'll have one final promotion for this. This Thursday, we are going to be going live during the NFL draft. Again, leading up to it, not the entire first round, to be determined how long we're exactly going to go. I think it's just depending on how the draft's going, how it's going in the live chat. So if you want to follow along, if you want to join in on the fun, we're going to be live Thursday night during the NFL draft. Again, we're going to be having guests on. I'm going to be giving these guys an NFL draft trivia show that you guys can compete in the comments with as well. Just a whole lot of fun. Again, we're going to be consuming alcohol, not getting blacked unless it's Josh having his second Bud Light seltzer, and that's going to black him for the most part. So
where did this come from?
No,
I reject this narrative.
I don't know, Josh. I'm just giving him a hard time. So again, it's going to be a lot of fun. If you guys would like to potentially join the show, talk about your favorite team's pick, again, hit up the show on Twitter at the HH show _, or hit me up on Twitter. We want to get as many people as possible to analyze picks because, again, we might have a team like the Giants make some selection and go, oh, that's an interesting pick. But it'd be interesting to hear a Giants fan perspective on whether or not it was a smart selection. So, again, follow us up on Twitter. Josh, you'll like this from Short Round. Josh 1000% was an ASU party animal.
Yeah.
Animal. Can absolutely confirm in regards to that aspect. So, again, it's going to be a fun show on Thursday. We want as many people to join as possible. It's going to be a lot of fun. And again, we want to get as many people of you on the show as possible. So that's going to be live this Thursday. But again, follow the show on Twitter at the HH show _. We're going to post all the information there. So if you have any questions, anything like that, all the information in regards to that aspect can be found over there. Guys, any parting words before we take off for the next 46 hours until we see each other again?
Lyle opened my Snapchat today, but did not respond, and I'm very disappointed. I will have to send it to the two of you.
As Bart Scott would say, can't wait because I love the NFL draft. So
I love the NFL draft, but I will tell you that I might be late for 7 o'clock and I might be leaving early because I have a flight at 8 a.m. the next day. So
it's almost like he's not committed to the show.
It's almost like I have a real job and I'm working.
Oh. That's
I'm going to hang out with Leighton Vander Esch this weekend.
Wow. Brady has a big boy job and a big boy apartment.
Sick brag, bro.
Big
boy pretty much said it perfectly.
Yeah.
All right. So again, Thursday's going to be a fun show. It's going to be hectic. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, Brady, does that mean you're going to be taking it easy on the Tito's since you have a 8 a.m. flight the next day?
Well, it's not a private flight, so I got to get there early, chill. But I got some Tito's. I got some tequila here. I'll have a little bit to drink. Don't you worry.
Yeah, Tito's going to be the drink of choice. All right, boys. Again, follow us on Twitter at the HH show _. And hopefully Thursday's a fun time. The draft's the best time. Watching draft day tomorrow night, so that's going to be a whole lot of fun. And for Josh Schaefer, Lyle Goldstein, Brady Klein, this has been Blake Harris from the Chateau in beautiful Monrovia, California. We'll see everyone in 48 hours for the NFL draft live here on the channel. It's going to be a fun time. Hit us up on Twitter so we can get you on the show so we can hear your hot takes. And thank you guys so much for watching. And again, we'll see you all 2 days from right now.